How do you think Brodie Croft looked today?
Thought he looked like Brodie Croft, but in a better coloured jersey.
Leeds has won back-to-back rugby league titles. The golden generation finally has its golden fleece. No England game, it seems, is complete without a Ryan Hall try. Jamie Peacock.
Kevin Sinfield.
Rob Burrow.
Jamie Jones Buchanan for Leeds. It's one of the most popular beards in rugby league now.
There aren't many in Super League that can do that.
We just want to be a great friend, and if we can all try and be a bit of a better friend from time to time, I think we have a bit of a better place to live in.
The Lot Pod is kindly sponsored by Fast Signs. Fast Signs are an established family-run business who have been providing businesses around Leeds and West Yorkshire with effective signs and graphics for almost 30 years. Fast Signs are passionate about helping customers make a statement with signs that are eye-catching, effective and delivered fast.
Hello and welcome to the Lot Pod. I am your host this evening. I am Statman Reese. There is no Eddie this evening, so I am back from Catalan taking the reins. We always want to thank our sponsors, Fast Signs. Fast Signs are sponsor of the podcast. I don't want to thank them for introducing me to Jet 27 whilst in Perpignan last weekend, but also want to thank you all for engaging with the podcast as you always do. If you do enjoy the podcast, please make sure you're hitting that follow button on Spotify, rating us on 5 stars. Obviously, we're on that journey of pushing our YouTube channel to 1,000 subscribers this year. We're over the 500 mark. We want to hit that 1,000 number. So if you do enjoy watching on YouTube, leave a like on our videos. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we also have our Patreon account as well. And as we've always said with our Patreon, it's not to put our content behind a paywall. It's just that if anyone wants to contribute anything from £1, £3 for £5 every month, 1 month, any sort of appreciation or money is appreciated because it helps us move the podcast forward. We're back. We've had obviously a weekend hiatus courtesy of us losing in the Challenge Cup first round at the first attempt again. This is the weekly roundup for round 12 and we've got lots to get through this evening. And to join me to go for all of that is producer Chris. Producer Chris, how are we?
I'm all right. Well, I apologise if I cough throughout it. I've got a bit of a flu thing going on, but yeah, other than that, I'm fine.
You weren't too jealous of my trip to Catalan?
I don't even want to talk about that, thank you.
I think I could go on for about an hour and a half, 2 hours about how everyone should always do at least one weekend in Perpignan for a Catalan away trip. It was absolutely fantastic.
I think we should all do it next year.
We should do it. We should organise a Lot Pod. I do like organising and planning, so maybe I have to become a travel agent for the Lot Pod for next year. But it was great to have about 1,000 to 1,400 Leeds fans out there. If anyone's not done it, I absolutely implore you to do it. Anyway, on to what's happened in the last couple of weeks. We've got quite a lot to get through, and I'll start with the netball team. So 2 weekends ago, the Rhinos netball team played Saracens and won 59-49, and they then followed that up with a win against Team Bath in Sheffield, which was a 65-50 win, which has seen them rise up the table. We've also had the Women's Under-19 Academy playing York Valkyrie. Obviously, we know York Valkyrie have a great focus on women and have got some great young talent coming through. But our women talent are better because we won 28 points to 20 in a great result there. So great to see the next generation of Rhinos women coming through. We then had our reserves as well. They played Bradford Bulls on the 16th of May and they smashed Bradford away 40 points to 0. Ned McCormack getting one of the tries there, but there was 7 tries scored in that game. And then on to the shining light of Leeds Rhinos at the moment. I don't know if you agree, Chris, but Leeds Rhinos women have had 2 fantastic results in recent weeks. On Sunday the 12th, they got revenge for the grand final last year by beating York away, so beating York in their own stadium 16 points to 10 with tries from Caitley Beavers, Shona Hoyle with Ruby Enright getting 4 goals. And then if you were watching the Challenge Cup this weekend, you would have seen Leeds Rhinos women beat Wigan 34-20 to book a third Wembley appearance in a row. Chris, fantastic game for the women at the weekend. Did he catch some of it?
Yes, I watched the first. I watched the other game actually against York because it was on Sportsman.
Yeah.
That were a belting game. I watched the first half against Wigan, and then the second half I was at my mate's house in the garden, so I kind of
in and out. It was lovely weather.
So I've watched a bit on catch up. I thought it was a great game, and one thing that's good, whether people will agree with this, is Wigan are coming on. They're nearly there.
To be honest, I was going to mention that because I think Wigan beat us in the grand final, I think in Challenge Cup in 2020 or maybe even 2019. And it's always sort of been a three horse race recently between York, Leeds and Saints. And Wigan really pushed the women. I think it was 14-all at half time and Leeds were chasing the game for most of the first half. And in fact, 10 minutes in the second half, Wigan went ahead and Leeds were chasing, but just stepped up that gear with 30 minutes to go.
They just had too much class and size, I think. Wigan are fairly small because they're quite young, aren't they? They've got a lot of young players.
Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, if I saw Zoe Hornby running at me, I would hesitate. But some of the pack are outstanding. I thought Northrop was brilliant. Ruby Enright is a player that I didn't really notice much last year, but I thought she was fantastic. And she got a short kickoff. She did a short kickoff successfully, grubbered it right at the start and collected it.
She did too.
Did she do too?
Well, she did that pretty cool when she just went straight forward, but she did one hard and to the left. It bounced over the Wigan player's head. Yeah.
So Lucky Miller, take note, please, from Ruby Enright, because
just on Ruby, she's fab. I didn't know much about her. So she got smashed last year, didn't she? In was it the grand final?
Yeah. Oh, was it that tackle? Yeah.
And to be fair, she just got up, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
She looks quite slight, but yeah, she's a good goal kicker as well, which is a massive plus in the women's game.
Yeah, I think that's made a massive difference because last year, obviously, they lost Cortford, Winfried Hill, and I think you noticed that a bit, but Ruby's really stepped up in that kicking game. She's got a really good sort of playing relationship as well with Hannah Butcher playing at 6. They link up really, really well in the games that I've watched. So, yeah, I mean, going through the try scorers, there was Caitlin Beavers, Kira Bennett, Ruby Enright got to herself, Zoe Hornby, Murray got one, obviously Hannah Butcher as well. So, loads of good try scorers in there.
Yeah, Hannah Butcher, I really like her because she looks really unassuming, doesn't she?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, but
yeah.
She I don't mean that in a bad way, but like she doesn't look like a women's rugby league player to me. But she's so tough. And she's a great captain. So I think I really enjoy watching women's games. When I try to catch them whenever I can. I've thought about going tomorrow because it's a double header, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Going, but I don't know whether they'll let you out in between games.
Well, it's not like Huddersfield where they'll charge you twice to watch the games.
I don't like stuck in a stadium for 5 hours, but
yeah.
So I might ring them and see, but yeah, I might go across them. I just think it's they play the game properly, as in there's no messing about, is there?
No, they don't. I think I saw a couple of comments in our WhatsApp group about how strong they were taking the ball and how strong they were carrying. There was some really good structure in there as well. I think Kira Bennett's come on massively at hooker as well, and her distribution's is so much better as well. But they do play really well. Lois has got them playing really well, and she's a fantastic coach, proven by the fact that it's the third trip to Wembley, third Challenge Cup final in a row. Same with the grand final as well, hopefully. And they've had some tough games, in recent weeks. Playing York last week, playing Wigan in the Cup this week, and then to go play Saints. If they win all 3 of those, me and Eddie were saying they should have won every game last year. Well, they might win it. They might do it this year. Maybe we're a year premature.
I think last year they probably would have won every game if they didn't lose the place at NRL.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
and they've coped really well with that. I do just looking at it holistically, like I just want a couple of other teams to step up a bit. Like Huddersfield made a big fanfare about being professional, and there's nothing about anything they're doing with women's game, is there?
No, and obviously it was the bit about charging. But anyway, look, our women shining light as always, and as they have been in recent years at the club. And well done for you to reaching Wembley. Obviously, if anyone wants to go down to the Challenge Cup, make sure you're going down and supporting the women as well. We'll stick with the women because, like Chris has said, it is a double header this weekend. So if you are going to the Saints away match, get there early, and you'll see probably a better game of rugby in the women's game than you will in the men's, or more competitive, in my opinion. But the women kick off at 5:30 as a opening game for the main event.
As well, Reece.
Say that again, sorry.
I think it's on Sky.
I think it will be on. It might be on. Yes, it's on main event Sky from 5 o'clock as well. So yeah, if you're not going, you can see them on Sky. That is the first of 4 fixtures against St Helens this weekend. Obviously, the men, which we'll preview in a second. On Saturday, the under-18s are also away to St Helens, who have finally picked up a bit of form with wins over Hull and Wakefield. They did play Saints early on in the year and lost 32-22, so they'll be hoping to avenge that. And the 4th fixture against St Helens is the under-19s women's academy will hopefully want to follow on from their back-to-back home wins against Featherstone and York. And then the netball side, with 4 rounds remaining in the Netball Super League, go away to Surrey Storm on Saturday as well. So that's all the fixtures and results. Just a couple of bits of news that have gone on. Again, it's been quite a lot happening in the last couple of weeks. Just a couple of fixture changes to note. So I think our game against Warrington on round 17 which the away game has been moved to the Thursday night for those that want to go to that, and also the game in round 19 away at Huddersfield has now been moved to the Thursday night, which is the 25th of July. There is also an open training session. So if you've never been to one before, there is an open training session on Friday, the 31st of May, to watch the men take part in their team run before Saturday's home game against Cass. I'm just looking at it now. I believe it's free. The gates will open at 9:45 via the South Stand turnstiles, and yes, it is free. 10 a.m. it starts and lasts for an hour. So if you want to watch an open training session during half term, something for you to do. And another bit of news that came out last week is the man, the legend that is Kevin Sinfield will again be doing another fundraising challenge. He is again doing a week-long challenge in support of Rob and the MND community. Is there anything this man can't do, Chris?
No. To be honest, it sort of sprung on me that I didn't realise he were planning on doing another one, and I just saw it on Twitter. I didn't actually see it on.
Yeah, well, he's always said after the last one, I don't know what we'll do next. I'm not sure if we will do another one, but I think we know that Kev will never ever stop. But he is again doing a return of the 7 in 7 in 7. And I think the locations are slightly different. So I think there's Liverpool to Wrexham, there's Gloucester to Bristol. They're going to do one in Belfast, then going another one in Hull. And then they're doing again another one at Old Trafford, or starting outside Old Trafford as well, and also doing one in Northampton and Leicester as well. So taking it to new places, but also in places that mean important for MND. Obviously, I know there's the gentleman called Craig in Hull, and obviously Ed Slater, who's the former Leicester player as well. So I can do a 10k, and that's about it.
I can do a 10 metre.
10 metre.
I think it's a good idea for him to take it to different places. I know people are. I don't think he's coming to Leeds, is it?
He's not this time, but you know, I think you're right.
You've got to sort of spread it about a bit. But my wife, she says he needs to pack it in. She said he's ruining himself. But I'm like, he's not going to stop, is it?
He'll never stop for his mate. He'll never stop for his mate. So keep a lookout for that. That's happening in December. So if you want to go support Kev and the MND community, that would be the perfect one to do. And then a couple of bits of team news before we go into the prediction or the preview of the Saints game. We got confirmation that Morgan Gannon will be missing the remainder of 2024. It feels like this is the right decision, Chris.
Yeah, they've got to look after him, haven't they? And I think we forget how young he is. He's only a
Yeah, I
young
mean,
lad.
he's still 20. You know, I think it's so hard to remember how young he is because he's been in the first team for nearly 4 years now.
Yeah,
I think it's
and
his fourth season.
I think his health comes first. And even though he's saying that he's got no symptoms, I think, look, just give him the year off. He's got a bit of work to do anyway. I think he said himself to sort of get a bit bigger, his frame.
Yeah.
And I think he can take time to do that. I don't think, well, I don't know, but I don't think we should overly panic thinking it's a Stevie Ward type thing, because Stevie had a lot of symptoms, didn't he?
Yeah, I think the club are just being very sensible, very careful to a young lad. You know, we've seen, Jack Walker, he started at 17 and all the injuries that you've had. You know, we've seen Riley Lum, young player, get an injury. Concussions we know can't be messed about with. We've got depth at second row as well, so I think that gives us the opportunity for us not to worry. But Gannon's health must come first. I am gutted for him because obviously we spoke to him at the media day at the beginning of the season, and he the size of him for the age of he is and how young he is, he was ready and raring to go, and he looked great in that pre-season friendly against KR. But it is the right thing to let him recover, and hopefully he'll be back and raring to go in 2025.
It's almost like a new signing for next year, isn't it? If he's
yeah,
but yeah, just most important thing is his health. So I think just let him get through those issues.
Yeah, as Rowan said, he has a long career ahead of him. Speaking of injuries, we have signed a player to cover some injuries. So it was announced last week that the Rhinos had signed Scottish international winger Matty Russell on loan from Warrington. Matty Russell's now 30. That surprised me. I thought he was a bit older than that, to be honest. But he will be staying with us until at least the 11th of July, which is prior to the game against Warrington. Experienced player, 151 tries in 212 games, and it's sort of been brought about because obviously the injury to Fussy Tua, the injury to Riley Lum. Chris, what was your thoughts on the need? That's a two-part question, really. The need to bring someone in on loan, and then the second question being Matty Russell.
I think they're doing the right thing bringing someone in. I think it's okay saying throw the kids in, but we've seen Riley Lum do his hamstring. Alfie Edgel's not a winger. And the other guys, Jack Smith, they're just really young, aren't they? So you've got to sort of counterbalance. Throw the kids in, fine, but if there's somebody available, I don't see the problem with bringing someone in. It's not going to hamper their career. They're only young. They're young kids. Yeah. And I think if Riley Lum hadn't have injured himself, I don't mean injured himself, but got injured, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think he'd have nailed that wing spot for the rest of the year. But he did, and it just shows that it's a big step up for them young kids, isn't it?
So do you think if Riley Lum hadn't got injured, do you think this signing would have even happened?
I don't think it would.
No, I don't think we'd have needed to, like you say. I think for me, I think one thing I will say is there was quite a lot of stuff about the fact it was Matty Russell and stuff, and I think whatever your opinion is or not, when he wears blue and amber, respect him because he'll put 100% in. Will Matty Russell, or hopefully so.
He is a 100% player. I've always quite admired him. He takes it from backline at 100 mile an hour. And we're sort of missing that a bit, aren't we? I think it's fine. If you'd have said we've signed Matty Russell as his new winger for next year.
Yeah, that's a different message, isn't it? But I think you're right in terms of, all it takes is one more injury to Alfie Edgell, Ned McCormack. I think Jack Smith's nursing an injury at the moment. We don't have any depth after that. So, I think the right thing to do was to bring someone in. I heard rumours of Fuad Yaha, which I think personally I would have preferred, but I've got no personal issue with Matty coming in, and I think he will probably start next week. Yeah. But I think it was the right thing to bring someone in on the short term to give us that cover. And if he doesn't perform, the kids can play and he can be the cover. If he performs, fantastic.
Yeah, and he's got a good try scoring ratio.
Well, 151 tries in 212. My quick maths, which is not very quick at all, That roughly sounds like a try every three games.
Yeah, but it's more the power which he brings the ball back.
Which is what we're missing with Footy 2 being out.
I've got a feeling it'll end up being for a year. I think we'll keep him for a full year, only because I've heard rumours of a bust-up. Warrington.
Oh, at Warrington. Oh, right, okay. Well, let's wait and see. But obviously, yeah, Matty Russell has joined us until the 11th of July, and which brings us nicely into the preview for Friday night's game. We are recording this on Thursday, so this is the game is tomorrow. A couple of news for the Rhinos squad. Obviously, it's great to see that Harry Newman and Brodie Croft are returning to that 21. New signing, Matty Russell, is in that 21 as well, with Riley Lum and Fussy Tua being out. We are still without the likes of Momorowski, Donaldson, Holroyd, Bentley, and obviously Gannon that we spoke about earlier. And then in the Saints team news, they have one player returning as well. They've got Ignatius Passy that's coming back, so he's been named in the 21. But they are without Morgan Knowles. They're without Matt Whitley. And obviously they're also without Leeds' nemesis, which is Alex Walmsley, because he always seems to get about 300 metres when he plays against us from there. So I consider that good news from there. So we'll talk about Saints briefly first, Chris, because there's a bit similarity between Saints and Leeds at the moment is that the fans don't seem to be getting on, or the majority of fans, or there's rumblings of fans not getting on with coaches on either side. You know, Saints sit second in the table at the moment, which is quite bizarre considering that people are not necessarily appreciating Paul Wellens. What do you think the losses of Moles and Whitley will be massive for Saints?
Whitley's not been going very well, to be perfectly honest, from what I've seen.
I thought at the start of the season he was phenomenal at the start of the season when I watched him.
Cliff, I think. But to be honest, they've racked up some big points against the lower sides. Mm-hmm. But if you look at even against us, if you want to class us as a lower side, but even
we are at the moment.
They've not racked up any points. If we can get some points against them, they haven't been that good. I can sort of see. I mean, I don't agree with them, but I can sort of see why some St Helens fans are grumbling because they don't look like St Helens of old. They're a bit predictable. They're quite slow. They ain't got a lot of pace. And they're saying it's just boring to watch. So if the game
sounds familiar. It sounds familiar, that Chris.
Well, exactly. So it's like it's two teams where the fans think they've got the same issues.
Yeah,
definitely honest.
So it's going to be a classic then.
Well, to be fair, the game that we played at Headingley, not the Challenge Cup, was a great game.
Yeah, the rounds 5 or 6, I think I want to say, but you know, Saints are. In terms of defence, I think Saints are great in defence. I think I haven't got the stats up now, but when I last looked, you know, they were conceding the least amount of metres per game. You know, so they are strong defenders. They play in the right areas of the pitch. Obviously, that's worked for the majority of the season, apart from obviously KR when they got absolutely stuffed. So I suppose my question to you now, Chris, is how big is it for Leeds to be having Newman and Croft returning into that side?
Massive. We saw it against Catalan, what we miss with Croft not being there. So I'm not as pessimistic about tomorrow as some people. Yeah. I think
you shocked me, Chris.
I think we might sneak it. Or even if we don't, I don't think it's going to be a battering. I've seen nothing in Saints other than when they've been playing London and Cass that they've got that ruthless streak that they used to have. Could be totally wrong, but I think it'll be a close game either way. I think the people have got out are quite big misses for them, but they haven't been in great form. Like Morgan Knowles hasn't been great, and I don't think Whitley's been great recently, but they're still good players, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think Newman coming back is really important because that backline was looking depleted, and you know we had to play a very young backline away at Catalan, and even though Newman's still young, obviously he brings that experience with him and that, quite frankly, that quality. And, Croft coming back as well is just massive for us. He's not lit the world alight, but he's still got, 12 assists in 10 games. He was top of the assist chart until the other week. So it's massive to have him back. So let's talk about selection for the Rhinos then, Chris, because I put a couple of tweets out in terms of polls, and I'll take you through. I'm going to ask you the question and we'll go through the poll results. But I think the biggest question in terms of the lineup for Rhinos on Friday night is who starts at 7. Is it Frawley or is it Sinfield? If you're Rowan Smith, what call do you make?
Oh, I'm really 50-50 on this one. I think he'll go Frawley.
What would you do?
I'd like to think I'd be brave enough to go Sinfield.
Yeah?
But Saints are a side that will spot defensive weakness, I think, and just hammer him. So I can see why he might pick Frawley, because he is defensively all right, isn't he? He's a bigger
in body. I personally I would go for Sinfield personally.
I think me too. If I were picking it, because I see him as our long-term 7, and I think give him a go. But I can also see why you might play a bit safety first, even though Frawley's not been that good.
Yeah. If he does go with Frawley, he'll only be agreeing with 15% of Rhinos fans that took part in this poll to 85% of the poll. It's surprised it's that high. Sinfield, people, 85% wanted Sinfield to start at 7. So let's go on to the next question I've got for you, Chris. So we've got Matty Russell in. Obviously provides cover in that back line, primarily on the wing. We know Hanley's going to be on one wing. Who would you have on the other wing? The 2 names that I had written down in this poll were Matty Russell and Lewis Roberts. Again, I'll ask you the question. If you're Rowan Smith, who starts on the wing between Roberts and Russell?
100% Russell.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. And we are agreeing with 85%, again, of people. 85% said Russell would start. The next one is more of an if scenario, but it kind of comes the back of both of our choices there. We know Newman is back, and we're assuming that Newman will be starting in one of those centre spots. But the question is, if Russell's starting on the wing, who plays at centre? Is it Roberts or Reece Martin?
Roberts.
You'd go for Roberts?
Yeah.
Why?
I think he's a centre, and he's looked more comfortable at centre.
Yeah, look, I know people are very critical of Roberts, sometimes unfairly, sometimes justifiably. But I did think from when I was at Catalan, he made some very good defensive reads and shut things down, and he's looked better at centre. And I think obviously the advantage of playing Roberts at centre is that it moves Martin back into his natural position of second row, where we'd probably get more out of him at second row. Would you agree?
Yeah, and what Rowan's tended to do if Reece Martin's at centre is put a back on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should be doing that against Saints. I can understand if Reece Martin's in centre why you would do that, because it gives you more option. But I think Roberts is perfectly fine at centre. I'd put him with Ash Hanley.
Yeah.
Leave. I think that's quite a powerful right edge then. Strong runner.
And then Newman with Matty Russell.
Yeah, Newman's a better right centre than he's a left centre. Just how he uses his footwork coming back in field. And I think what that does then, it means we don't have to pay Goudemond as a starting second row.
Mm-hmm.
We can bench him and we can have a bit of a bigger bench. So I think, to me, I'd definitely just put Roberts as left centre.
So this wasn't... this wasn't the tightest poll or result in a poll, but it was very close, and the majority actually agreed with us, Chris. 52% said that Roberts should be starting at centre instead of Martin, and there was a couple of comments that came back on that very much on the lines of gets Martin back into the second row from there. The next poll I had was to do with props. So obviously Aledzki is one of the starting props, but I asked the question who should start with him. And there was 3 players that I put in this one. Justin Sangaré, Tom Nicholson-Watton and Sam Lasone. So again, you're Rowan Smith. Chris, who are you starting at prop alongside Aledzki?
I'd consider Gudmund. I don't know.
So another name that I've not even put out there.
It's just because if you're shifting Martin back into second row, I like Gudmund. He's got a high work rate. Now, do you go massive on the bench? I don't think Lissone or Sangare should start.
So I'm pick up on that Lasone point really quickly because he only got 6% of the vote in this, right. Which I'm actually surprised it's quite low in that sense because I know he's a liked player, but I think that means I'm interpreting that as that everyone's on the same page as he isn't a starting prop, he's an impact prop only. So I think everyone's agreeing on that front. So it then comes down to in my poll, between Justin and Tom Nicholson-Watton.
Well, I'd go a little Tom every day, me, but I don't.
Little Tom,
not, is it? But I think there might be a case for starting quite mobile in pack. I don't know. Seems as though they've got some forwards out, and we haven't got proper starting props, have we? We're short of a starting prop.
And whilst obviously they don't have Alex Walmsley, I still think Saints have got a really strong back row. You know, you've still got Sirenan, James Bell, Joe Batchelor, Matautia. They're quite big second rows, and you know they've still got George Delaney and Matty Lees in there as well. In the poll, this was the closest one. Justin Sangaré was 46% of the vote, and Tom Nicholson-Watton was 47% of the vote. So 47, just by a winning margin of 1%, felt that Tom Nicholson-Watton should be starting. And the final poll for the lineup was that we've seen some rotation at hooker recently. Obviously, Jared started against Catalan, he started against London. Who would you start at hooker, Ackers or O'Connor?
Ackers in this one.
Yeah.
I think what we need to do is we need to start like we did against them in the league game where we came out on fire.
Mm-hmm.
But what we need to do is post some points while we're doing it. So
yeah,
I think that's what he'll want to do. I don't think you can ease your way into a game against Saints.
No, absolutely not.
So try and play as fast as you can in that first half.
So on that basis, then our lineup that we've sort of decided, and the polls have sort of decided, would be that obviously Miller at fullback, Russell, Newman, Roberts, and Hanley, and finishing off the outside backs with Croft and Sinfield. The pack would be Aledzki, Ackers, Tom Nicholson-Watton, McDonnell, Martin, and Cam Smith, which probably then leaves the bench to be Sam Lasone, Justin Sangaré, Gudmund, and Jared O'Connor. So that's the lineup that we've sort of come in from there. Whether Rowan does that, I don't think he will. I think Sangaré will be starting, and I just have a sneaky feeling that Matt Frawley will be starting as well. One final question for you, Chris, before I ask you for your prediction, and you can take on the role of delusional Eddie when it comes to the prediction for the result. But the one question first is, where is this game won or lost for Leeds? What is the one thing that Leeds need to do if they're going to come away with the 2 points?
Be more clinical when we get chances.
Yeah.
That's it. We would have beaten them in that league game.
First game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you get some points on Saints, they're not, like I said before, they're not great at scoring loads against more organised. We just need to start fast. And try and I think they can do it. It's just I'm glad Walmsley's out. I'm not glad he's injured.
Yeah,
I don't like play to be injured. But it's the game where he just monsters everyone.
Yeah, he just seems to have a superhuman level against Leeds. I don't know why, but I think for me the game will be won and lost. I think it's for territory for me. We've got to start playing in the right areas, and that comes from better kicking. It comes from the pack winning the battle in the middle for me as well. So I'm going to say playing in the right areas. Chris, what's your prediction and the result?
18-12 to Leeds.
18-12 to Leeds. I will stay pessimistic, and I'll say it will be St Helens 20, Rhinos 10. from that bit. Eddie will not be happy that I predicted a loss, but he is not here, so we can ridicule me on our next podcast, which will be the match review panel, which we'll be recording on Saturday evening. Keep a lookout for the player ratings tweet, which I will put out either on Friday evening or on Saturday morning, which will help us choose our player ratings. Chris, thanks for joining us this evening. Have a great weekend. Everyone that's heading over to Saints, get there early and support the women and enjoy the weekend. And we'll see you all next week.